Okay, I will call to order the meeting of the South County Board of Education. The first thing we're going to do tonight is the oath of office for our new board member, incumbent Brian Casey. Betty, you can read your oath.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of board member.
Sign your card. Now we'll do roll call. Thomas Blakely. Here. Brian Casey.
Here.
Stephanie Hogan.
Here.
Jennifer Williams. Here. Michael Keane.
Here.
David Keel.
Here.
Christopher Larrabee.
Here.
Robert Musick.
Here.
And we will add Vincent Forenza, so we know he's here. And I will give the oath of office to our superintendent, Dr. Carey.
Solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of superintendent. Superintendent recommends the appointment of Amber Lanigan as district clerk for the period of July 2025 through July 2026. I have a motion. Motion made by Mr. Blakely, seconded by Ms. Cogan. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 8-0.
All right, I have to read my oath. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of district clerk. And now we will take nominations for the office of the President of the Board of Education. Okay. Second? Okay. All right, motion made by Mike Keane, seconded by T.J. Blakely, that Ms. Cogan be appointed as President of the Board of Education and be administered the oath of that office. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Vote carries 8-0.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of President, Board of Education.
And now nominations will be accepted for the office of Vice President of the Board of Education. Okay, any second? Mr. Musick? Motion made by Mr. Blakely, seconded by Mr. Musick, that Mr. Keel administer the oath of office. All in favor?
Aye.
8-0. Mr. Keel, you can read your oath.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Vice President of the Board of Education.
Our board president can go over the resolution.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lawyer. Agenda item number 6, Board of Education meeting schedule. We recommend the adoption of the 2025-2026 schedule of regular board and of education meetings. They're to be held here on Tuesdays at 6:30 unless otherwise noticed. In the summer, we do meet at 6 at the district office, 102 Worley Drive. Some exceptions have been made to avoid conflicts with holy days of various religious groups, state and national conferences, or extended school resource periods. Unless I have any questions, I'll take a motion. Ms. Houlihan, second. Mr. Musick. On the motion made by Ms. Houlihan, seconded by Mr. Musick, that the above stated 2025-2026 Board of Education meeting schedule be adopted. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Agenda item number 7, you'll see a whole list. The superintendent recommends approval of the following appointments as indicated. This is A through D on page 6. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'll take a motion. Mr. Larrabee, Mr. Casey. On the motion made by Mr. Larrabee, seconded by Mr. Casey, that the above stated appointments be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Agenda item number 8, resolutions. The superintendent recommends approval of the following. This is A through K on page 9. Any questions? None? Is there a motion? Mr. Muser, second. Mr. Blakely. On the motion made by Mr. Music, seconded by Mr. Blakely, that the above stated resolutions be approved. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Agenda item number 9, authorizations and recommendations for action. The superintendent recommends approval of the following. A through all right, through BB, page 17. Take a minute, please.
Page 17, Y. Still change, and then it's voting for president.
Yeah, we always do the methods.
Questions? Hearing none, I'll take a motion. Mr. Blakely, second. Mr. King. On the motion made by Mr. Blakely, seconded by Mr. King, that the above stated authorizations and recommendations be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Item number 10, adjourn this reorganizational meeting. Mr. Casey, Mr. King. On the motion made by Mr. Casey, seconded by Mr. King, that the reorganizational meeting of the Board of Education be adjourned. Time is 6:09. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you very much.
Perspective. Mr. Sim and Mr. Casey, remember the old days when we do one at a time?
Yeah.
Forever.
Get that out of the way.
Misty Waters. Oh. But my brother's as large as well. I'm lumping against
I remember that.
So we can roll right into the regular. All right, everybody?
In like 5 minutes to cross the stage.
Oh, yeah. First matter, we have 2 public hearings that commence tonight. First is the code of conduct. And any persons, interested parties and citizens regarding the adoption of the proposed 2025-2026 code of conduct policy 5300 and the code of conduct plain language summary. This is the beginning of a 30-day comment period. You can direct those right here to the district office. Public hearing 2, South Colony District-wide School Safety Plan. And this begins the public hearing for the purpose of receiving comments from all interested parties and citizens regarding the adoption of the proposed 2025-2026 South Colony District-wide School Safety Plan and the Project SAVE Commissioners Regulation 155.17. Again, public comment will be open for 30 days from today. Regular meeting of the South Colony Board of Education will be called to order. Roll call. Thomas Blakely.
Here.
Ryan Casey.
Here.
Stephanie Cogan here. Rose Gigliello is excused. Jennifer Houlihan.
Here.
Michael Keane.
Here.
David Keel.
Here.
Christopher Larrabee.
Here.
Robert Neeson.
Here.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
Agenda item number 3, approval of minutes. These minutes were of the regular meeting of June 24th, 2025. Are there any questions or comments on these minutes? Hearing none, I'll take a motion. Mr. Mason, second. Mr. Keane. On the motion made by Mr. Mason, seconded by Mr. Keane, that the minutes of the regular meeting of the June 24th, 2025 meeting be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Agenda item number 4, superintendent update. Dr. Kerr.
Yes, good evening, everyone, watching at home, Mr. Sim. I just wanted to, again, congratulate our class of 2025 graduates. It was an outstanding ceremony last Wednesday. Thank you to Mr. Burrell, high school principal, Mrs. Judge, grade level principal, Mrs. Bullock, who's our graduation coordinator, really did a great job. Mr. Ken Strachey, Mr. Ryan Music, Mr. Ken Strachey for making sure behind the scenes are together. And to all of our staff, we set up, breakdown, just truly a successful operation. So thank you. Tonight we'll be discussing some of the adjustments to a new draft policy for mobile devices in our K-12 schools and pre-K. People like pre-K or the cell phone, which you don't know. So that'll be one of the things that we'll discuss tonight. Also wanted to welcome Vincent Frenzo, our student board member, to our meeting. So Vincent, welcome. Look forward. Vincent's a rising 11th grader. We'll give him an opportunity. Other thing I just wanted to make people aware of is just the cautionary tape around our capital project locations, specifically Leader, Leishman Hill, and the high school. Please be careful around the construction work. A lot of it is fenced off, but careful with your vehicles and careful with your individual as you walk through some of our properties. Those sites, for the most part, are shut down for the work, but to that completion for of the project at the end of the summer, and obviously the junior library will be ongoing process, but we'll just be cautious around the capital.
Mr. Blake.
I just want to give kudos to everybody in the district involved in graduation. It was, again, really, really well done. Also, congratulations to all of our academic Hall of Fame inductees. We saw some really good folks who represented Colony Pride, and what the district has done for them was awesome. Also, just take a moment to remind our students to stay safe over the summer. If you're going to go swimming, do anything like that, make sure you're following proper precautions, don't get hurt. We want to see you back in the fall. And let everyone know about the multitude of summer youth sports opportunities that are out there to keep the kids busy during the summer. I know I just saw today, I think lacrosse has an opening turf time going on. I know there's a girls flag football clinic that the Junior Wolfpack is hosting in conjunction with the varsity program. So lots of stuff to keep the kids busy. So enjoy your summer.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Mr. Keel, or Mr. Keel.
Yes, adding on to what Mr. Blakely said, it was wonderful to see our new inductees into the Academic Hall of Fame. 3 very wonderfully qualified people, graduates of County High School, and a diverse group of people. And I would just like to, if anybody's listening out there, we are opening up the nomination process again for a ceremony in November to honor more Hall of Fame inductees. So if anybody listening, or anybody here at the table, if you can think of some people, we would greatly like the nomination so that we can include more people. We know they're out there that have done wonderful things for the school district or the humanity or the community, whatever we would like to honor. So please nominate them. Go to the district website, go to the academic tab, and you'll find a place where it says Hall of Fame, and there's where the application is.
And I believe we have a communication going out. And we're supposed to do something because the ceremony is November. Cutoff date would be September. Where did we land? Right at the end of August. Okay. So that we have enough time to get that through.
Mr. Mason?
I'm not on the academic Hall of Fame committee, but I just want to give kudos to that group. Tom, great job. The pre-ceremony that has evolved very nicely over the last several years. And also just want to recognize the 3 kids that presented to the our academic. I wrote the name down. Hopefully I'm correct. Abby, Leigh, and Dylan. Great job. All 3 really impressive to get out there and do what they did. So.
Thank you very much. Mr. Casey?
All the board members should have gotten a notice today from the Sand Creek Friends of the Arts, I think it is. There's a play coming up in July. I don't remember the name. Teen Girls.
18.
Teen Girls Junior. Very good, thank you. So that sounds like a good one. That might be a good one to go to. So.
Absolutely. Very good. Thank you.
I just had that graduation was magical, and I love everything. Thank you. It was awesome.
Whatever. Whatever. Really nice, and then it was followed up the next day by the Elisha Kill moving up ceremony and Sand Creek ceremony. They were both fabulous. Fabulous. Who's your other kid?
Wait, where are the pictures of Jack?
Yes.
We all cried. Yeah, thanks to everybody, Colleen, Bullock, you and your team rocked. So thank you so very much. And Mr. Casey said the Mean Girls Junior is going to be put on Friday, July 18th at 7 o'clock and Saturday, July 19th at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. The board has been invited. If you would like to have a ticket set aside for you, please reply to Ally Lynn here, who is heading things up. Secondly, we do have, NYSBA is offering a couple of conferences this summer. First is the 2025 Summer Law Conference. That's in Albany at the Desmond on the 31st. On August 1st and 2nd is the Leadership in Education. It is a 2-day program. It sounds terrific. I'm going to go. Mr. Keene, you expressed interest. Mr. Blakely, you too. Anybody else? If you are, be sure to tell.
Yeah, please let me know.
So it's the 3 of us right
So who did you say, TJ, Mike, and you?
now.
It's great when it's in the backyard.
Yeah, it's hard to miss. It's a really,
It's not the law conference, the leadership conference.
I wish I could go to the law conference. I just can't.
The law
Seems to clear my
conference is-
schedule.
Yeah, I went last year and it's full of policy updates and
Yeah.
there's a lot.
Maybe I should go.
It's a lot.
You're meant to call it
Chris,
What date is that?
July
July.
31st. That's a Thursday.
Oh my God.
It's at the desk and they give you a really good lunch.
Absolutely. You want to go, please let Anne know. Anybody else? It was a great year. Thank you so, yeah. Thank you so much. It was a great year and here we are beginning the new, so welcome to 2025, 2026. There we go. Last under new business, I would like to give a minute to Vincent Lorenzo, who is our new ex officio student member of the board. Vincent will be bringing items of concern and ideas to the board. Vincent does not vote. He doesn't take part in executive session, but he is committed to the whole other ball of wax. Vincent, thank you for joining us. Thank you for volunteering for this. Tell us about yourself.
So I've lived in Colony my entire life. I went to Beer Elementary School and then I went to Western Middle School. A rising 11th grade in Colony High. I am the vice president of the class 2027, and I am iCare's. I was iCare's volunteer coordinator, and now I am the co-vice president. And I was asked to do this. I was asked to run for this position because staff members, administrators, my other classmates and peers saw me as somebody that is honest and direct and could work well with adults and members of the board and could get the point across honestly and directly. And I appreciate that, and I am so much looking forward to getting to know all of you. And I've already met some of you, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. And I would also like to thank my other board member, Brody Dowd, who I ran against, and we are so happy to get to know you guys. And thank you for having me.
Everybody ready? Agenda item number 6, communications. Nothing online. Mr. Sim, nothing? Agenda item number 7, board committee reports. We have 2. The first one is the audit and finance committee. That report is linked. Mr. Blakely, if you'd like to do any highlights or if anybody has any questions for Mr. Blakely, now is the time.
I just want to commend Jacqueline and everybody that works in the district office for finance department. They do a really, really great job. Residents of the district should be proud of the fact that every audit we have comes back very clean, very minor. Anything comes up, it's very minimal. So kudos to them because it's a lot to have to manage and it's a lot to take care of, and they do an excellent job. So really, it's in good hands.
Thank you very much. And your prizes you get to do all. And next we have policy, Mr. Larrabee.
Yeah. First reading is going to be 2245. And this is specific to Vincent's position. And pretty much why, as a district, we are so proud to have you or whoever sits in this role and going forward. Why we have the importance of having students to be able to sit on this and do this kind of stuff that you're doing. So we're very excited to have you.
And I don't see my little reading thing.
No, it's just the first, so we'll.
So I don't have to do that. But does anybody else have any questions?
I do have a question. The 100 signatures for the student,
Mhm.
how did we determine that? Because when we run, what,
It's a
25?
percentage.
So how did we make that differentiation for students?
We do for our student centers.
Okay.
And we try
So
to keep it parallel.
Works for me.
It can be student or staff from any level. So I don't know. School classmates.
Vinny could have gone over to be here.
Yeah, I got mostly like my high school students, a few teachers and staff members, but
Very good. Okay. Thank you very much. Mr.
You're welcome.
Agenda item number 8, reports and recommendations for action. These are letters A through I. It goes to page 8. Dr. Perry, do you have any commentary?
Most of this is renewals of previously existing contracts as we roll over into the new year. So these are agreements to continue work into the 25-26 school year. Pretty standard.
Questions? Just like to highlight letter I, donations from Andy Byrne of one Yamaha alto saxophone. Thank you very much. It helps the student, and that's what we're all about. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll take a motion. Mr. Blakely, second. Mr. Leeson. On the motion made by Mr. Blakely, seconded by Mr. Leeson, that the above stated reports and recommendations be approved. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Agenda item number 9, personnel instruction. You will find this on page 11. Because Mr. Ravalati is not here, Dr. Perry, do you have anything you'd like to mention?
This is a little bit of cleanup from summer school, but also just the appointment of the dean position at Lexington Middle School. Allison Burns was a finalist in our administrative search for the high school positions. She's been a teacher and we did dean in the school, and she's we were interested in having her come on board for. We're going to actually have her come in later in August. Comes up in minor to get
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll take a motion. Mr. King, second. Mr. Casey. On the motion made by Mr. King, seconded by Mr. Casey, that the instruction personnel changes listed on the attached sheets dated July 1, 2025 be approved. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Agenda item number 10, personnel support. You'll find this on pages 12 and 13. Preparing anything?
Just want to thank those staff members that are leaving us. We appreciate their support. I know Bailey is moving on to another position within the district, but thanks to Jill and Rose for their service. And look forward to recognizing and working with the new staff.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'll take a motion. Mr. Blake. Second, Mr. Key. On the motion made by Mr. Blakely, seconded by Mr. Key, that the support personnel changes listed on the attached sheets July 1st, 2025 be approved. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Agenda item number 11. Everybody did so well. We're going to give you the month of July off of board duty. And then we'll start them up again. Yes, Mr. Beal.
I see that it says on the 12th that we'll be first reading the mobile devices in grades 8 and 12. Just
Yes.
for input.
So I wanted to talk about that tonight.
Okay.
Thank you for the transition, if I may. Because we don't have a policy committee meeting between now and August unless we choose to schedule one. Wanted to bring the draft of the policy tonight to talk, answer questions. We had mentioned it at the last meeting, shared some updates with professional counsel and PTA counsel. This is a draft form. The goal is that we work through and redefine that. We get into the first reading, which will be August 12th. With the plans to hopefully approve it on August 26th and start a new school year. This policy is designed to be compliant with the new law that requires a bell-to-bell ban of internet-enabled devices. So internet-enabled devices or mobile devices is everything from your standard cell phone to a smart watch, your Bluetooth-enabled headphones, and other devices. Aside from the devices that the school issues, so it doesn't apply to a Chromebook that we're issuing to students or other devices we can offer, an iPad to a student for a program. Obviously, the state and the country has gone through back and forth the impact of cell phones on student learning and distractions. We're trying to meet the requirements of the law, at the same point in time being mindful of the fact that it's still a very personal device, and we know that students and parents want to have access to one another. Policy is written right now starts to talk about how we'll communicate during the day when student cell phones are out of their usage, and that is going to have to be stored in their locker or in their backpack. Some districts are looking at the yonder bags. We've kicked around that process, got quotes. The cost of the yonder bags was significant, about $61,000. We felt that we could finish the spirit of what was going on, at least in this time period, and see if we could do it a different way. Districts are implementing the yonder bags. Some have already done that. Others are going the direction that we're recommending moving forward, which is allowing the student to either secure in their locker or in their backpack. It's got to be turned off and out of sight. It's worked well in middle schools. It's obviously a non-issue in the elementary schools. And just really wanted to educate and work with our students on why this is important. It should be important to them. It should be important to their learning. And because the high school is going to implement this, we need to do a good job messaging. There are some things that are out there beyond the yonder bags right now that are in the beginning stages. And so that's why I'm recommending not to go with the purchasing. There's some software companies that are working on mobile apps that will allow you to put your cell phone into a mode similar to like airplane mode, school mode, that may be become available and may meet the requirements of the law. There's also other ways to restrict them. So we're going to look throughout the first quarter at this plays out. We'll continue to collect data. The goal is not to be punitive with students. We understand that conflicts arise in anything we're trying to enforce, whether it's a pass in the hallway or a cell phone. It's how we approach that. We're looking to de-escalate situations rather than escalate them. So in situations where a student may be pulling their phone out or using their smartwatch, it's how we approach them and how we educate them on the law. We have to do that early and often. We'll do that throughout the summer months with communications to our students and parents. We'll work with Mr. Earl and his staff to go into the classrooms to educate the students. But I also don't want it to become a distraction that's all we're focusing on. Our kids have survived with cell phones and the restrictions being placed on them, but we could do a better job. And so I wanted to be clear that we are going to work to help support our teachers so that this does not become an issue. Most of the time, the students are compliant with the class. We know times where students use their cell phones in classes, and that's become a distraction. But most of the areas that we've had referrals, if you will, have come in the areas of hallway or cafeteria where we've allowed it. It's been kind of the norm. So we'll need to revisit that, re-emphasize and reinforce the new expectations. And at the start of the new school year, we believe we can do that without the yonder methods. Really not any changes at the pre-K through 4 level. Still encouraging families to keep those devices at home at all times. It really isn't an educational value in any pre-K through 4th grade having a cell phone. If for some reason there's a medical reason, there is an exemption for that. The middle school has always been either keep it in your locker or keep it at home. And, students have been good about that. Those few infractions we've had, they've been confiscated and returned at the end of the day, and it becomes an eventual problem. We bring the parent to pick up the device. So that same thing is the plan to work out at the high school, so that if a student is in violation of the policy, whoever finds them in violation of the policy will redirect them. And that could be the teacher, a monitor, it could be the building principal. Not about trying to catch them doing something wrong. It's really reinforcing what the expectations are of our kids, helping them to become more responsible. There are some carve outs in this policy and in the law for medical reasons, or ENL students, or Ls that may need it for translation services. Medical exemption will work through the nurse's office. Doctors note or PA reason for a child to have that, possibly for monitoring blood glucose or some other areas, then that can be a carve out. We don't want to restrict that area, but it will be restricted to that purpose. It should not be used for communicating with your classmate unless it's for other purposes. Translation purposes certainly can be utilized. We're not trying to restrict our kids from learning English, communicating better with our staff, and at the same point in time working through some of those issues. We also have students that are using devices like iPads that are district distributed, and those are for communication purposes, and those are not part of this policy. An iPad for communicating with your classmates or with your teacher, that's not going to restrict you from doing those types of things, nor will you need a medical excuse to have that, or already be part of your IEP program. The process of collecting the data, we do have a program in Aspen that allows us to chart student discipline and things like that. That's where I envision it going into in the comments area. We can run a report, how many times, John Senior had a violation and what that looks like and what the comments are. And we can run those reports at the end of the 10-week time period. Take a look and see, is this becoming an issue and where it's becoming an issue? I think that's the important part. You see, it's a double ban, but we want to focus on the classroom rather than the school bus. And so making sure we communicate that with things. The law does not allow for suspensions related to cell phone only. So the fear is that you escalate a situation where it starts out with a cell phone, but it becomes disrespect, and all of a sudden we're kicking a kid out. It started with a cell phone, but it became a disrespect issue. That's with any situation. I don't care what it is. It could be the cell phone, but in any situation, you need to do better if we're escalating situations where kids are becoming inappropriate or violating our protocol. And that's a learning curve as well. Our goal is not to suspend kids over cell phones or create issues for them, but to help them become better students and less distracted. So I'll pause there a little bit. I know that probably some questions or comments. Hopefully, we can address that. I'll mention that it's not quite there yet. I mentioned to the board Student Square. That is it's not released yet. It's still in the planning stage. So that could be a solution. It's not yet. And I don't have a deadline to say we're ready for September. But Student Square is a student version of Parent Square that could potentially allow for parent to student or student to parent communication directly. It wouldn't allow Vincent to communicate with his classmates, but it would be communication with them. It's not there yet, according to Mr. Hardy. It is something that Parent Square, the company, is looking at because of the need and throughout the state. They're looking at ways to do that. So we just wanted to make people aware of that. So we're looking at some options as to we manage this without making it become a distraction.
Dave, in the past, you've mentioned that that the district will be asking students and parents for their input. Do you have any information about what they told us?
So we did a survey. The survey was probably one of our most popular surveys, surprisingly. Within about 3-day time period, I think we had 800 responses. So typically, we put out a survey, we may get 300 or 400. So about double the common concerns were accessing their child during the day in an emergency situation. Those two items exclusively with each other, and how that would go about getting in touch with the child, and then managing the, I'll call it after-school activities, the schedule of the child. We know that kids are busy. We're going to pick them up. Where to drop them off? Or you pick them up early or whatnot. So those were the major concerns that attendees had. Most were in agreement with the idea of a bell ban. but there are certainly concerns about taking away that individual cell phone from the child. And some parents voiced in the comments that, they're never cell phone. So again, whether it's the underbags or locking it in a locker or in the backpack, it's still intended to be on their person. So we're not taking that away unless they violate the policy, and then that becomes something where a grade level principal may confiscate it for that day, return it back, and if we need the policy allows for those kind of things. But those were predominantly what has been there. I think that there's confusion as to what is a internet-enabled device. So we try to define that as much as possible to be able to have that message out there. The good thing was that most people were aware of the new law that had responded to the survey. So out of those 800 some odd people that responded, they were aware of the law. So that was a good thing, and I think that's part of the education process. When we did the stop the school bus, the stop on cameras and things like that, we had educated people, we had put out PR and this is kind of the same thing. I think we reset that expectation for our students. They'll reach it, but we need to be fair to them, give them proper notice. So throughout the month of July and August, we're going to continue to make sure we message that out again as we work with the principals at all levels, but more specifically at the high school level, because this will be a bigger change about high school.
What are expectations of staff in utilizing their devices?
So the law does not restrict their devices. I think what we would try to do is that within our classroom setting, we should be modeling good behavior. It's not to say that a teacher can't, respond to something going on. Certainly in an emergency situation, we're going to allow them to do that. But I would hope that they're not taking personal calls in the middle of math class or English class. I'm sure it happens. Everybody's lives are busy, but that's modeling the great behavior. So we've tried as a board and cabinet here when we have meetings to silence our phones and try to put them aside. And I think that's really the message we're going to want to reiterate for our staff as well. Certainly when students are in your presence, we should be modeling that behavior. If you're in the staff room or somewhere else, you're involved, you have to manage your minds.
Which ends bad, but I'm deeply curious about your perspective on this.
I personally see cell phones are a big problem in schools. We all can agree with that. Personally, I have to text my parents almost every day during the day. Like, I have to be picked up at this time. I have a meeting this time. I have to go to the Board of Education thing at this time. And that's my main concern. And I was surprised that the state didn't only limit it to classroom use. I'm surprised they also took out lunchtime and passing periods and study halls. But cell phones do take away from education if it does prohibit that, and some students take advantage of teachers and their learning time. But it also hinders a lot of personal connections, and kids don't talk to each other anymore. Do I always want to talk to my peers all the time? No. But it does. I understand where the state's coming from, but I do think the law could have been changed a little bit. But I think that the district is going in the correct direction with me on it, and trying to trust students. And I think that the Student Square idea is very good, and that could be helpful. And I think that we're going in the right direction.
So I'm wondering about how you feel about, Dr. Perry said, it's mostly not a problem in class. Like, is that your lived experience? Like,
Yes.
Do you think that, in my, that I work in Albany, and I know that our teachers are very fatigued by having to police cell phones, right? Like, they just want to teach. They don't want to have to do that piece. And one of my concerns is transparent by not doing it kind of at the door with the advertising. That now I love the idea of let's give our kids a shot to trust them to do the right thing, but I'm concerned about falling on the teachers instead of at the door
broadly, and I'm wondering what your perspective on that.
Teachers should not feel obligated to do something that that's not their job description and policing phones my teachers that have used those pockets that we see in the class, they have set up right first day of school, just put them there, it won't be a problem. A lot of teachers have it as like a grade in Aspen and they either do that for attendance, like you don't have your phone up, it's not going to do might not answer your question. Am I not answering your question?
No, you are,
No,
you
no,
absolutely are. I got it.
It's a different grading.
Verbal conversation.
Okay. But I feel like an upright conversation with students on the first day, this is my expectation of you. And then the classes that I'm in, the students that I'm around, they usually, I'm not around every student. But I do think that if an upright opening assembly or the first day of school, the principal or teacher saying this is what we are doing, if we can't abide by that, then
I think Vincent hit a good point in my mind, because if my second period teacher says, you know, if you stay after school, I can help you, you can raise your grade. So I want to tell mom and dad I'm not going to come home on the bus because my second period teacher just told me this. So how can we get around, how can I communicate that to my parent until I don't want to wait till the end of the day.
You do with classroom phones, so with permission, student, again, that's not cool, it's also not private. So they can obviously lunch and make that call if needed. But that's why we're looking at some alternatives on what can we do to meet them in the middle of things. The law is designed, I think it's got good intentions, but with any law, there's tweaking. And I think in this case, we may see some tweak in the technology that becomes available versus what we're doing. I agree with this, right? About his smartwatch that he's got out there. Vincent's probably not texting his parents off his smartwatch, but he may get a communication saying pick you up at noon or whatever. We all have those things, but we got to ban that, put that away from you. We really have to educate our kids on how to use things appropriately. And I think this is a step in the right direction. It's not by all means going to solve everything. I think the people that have done the yonder bags will tell you they're effective to a point, but you're never going to get 100% compliance. We need to be clear with our expectations for our kids. I think we'll meet the expectations. And if they're not, we'll have consequences for that, but it should match what the expectations are. We can always reverse course. We can spend $60,000 buying the yonder bags, but there may be something else coming out that may be a better process. Bottom line is we want kids and staff to focus on learning, and that's really where our emphasis should be. I think we're all in agreement on that, including our students. But I don't want to become this hill to die on for a senior who's protesting the cafeteria, so you never get that cell phone away from me. That's really not what it's about. And we've got to find ways, back years ago, there were payphones in high school. We offered payphones, and then we offered a phone booth. We took the phone booth out because everybody had a cell phone. So I don't want to go back to building a phone booth, but there may be ways that we have to do that. My hope is that at some point in time, we can figure out a way to communicate via the Chromebook with the parents. The starting point may be to allow a student to email with their parent. Right now, their emails are restricted to just self-counting emails. We may be able to somehow figure that out. That's a technology we should go up and deal with. But troubleshooting some of these things with our students and looking at it instead of saying, how can we get around the rules? What I hear in the underbags is like, I'm bringing a burner phone, I'm faking it, so they're circumventing the rules. The kids are smarter than we are. Good for them, but let's work with them on solving the issues. And then if it backfires, we can always go back to, okay, we're restricted. My hope is that the large majority of our students are compliant, and that's what we hope with any rule or law. I know people are driving over 55 on the highway. said, if you're driven over 55 and, you know, I'm gonna pull over, but the rules say 55. So we want to be compliant, safety, in this case, it's a student cell phone distraction issue, but let's not take it out of context. If a kid actually went to their locker and looked at a text message, the world is not ending. But if they're doing it during an English Regents exam, then there's an issue. We want to make sure they understand. You can't have it in testing location. You can't have it in classrooms. I wish the carve out allowed some flexibility with other things, but the good things are there are some carve outs for medical. There's some carve outs for other translation purposes. We're going to have to work through what that looks like. I don't want everybody to have to go to the doctor and get a medical exemption. The doctors will hate us, and that's expensive things you don't need.
That's time will tell. It's gonna be interesting, like early October, to have the girl and like just get an update in the first month of how they got on it.
We're able to do it with 8th graders.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we can do it with 9th graders if we set that expectation and police it and we're consistent. Consistency is going to be key, so it doesn't fall to teacher A or teacher B. Because once we show our weaknesses, the kids will explode. We're allowing it in one class and not in another one. That hurts our enforcement, and it can't just be about the high school principal and 4 grade level principals. There's only 5 of them total. They're outnumbered, so we need the enforcement from all the adults, and that's what the hope is. But yeah, let's get away from the teacher having to be the bad guy and hired, because let's make cell phones less of a focus and focus on good instruction in the classroom.
I think a good start with the freshmen would be that freshman orientation, that they just know that don't bring it, that's at all. So, it starts right there, that 4-day or whatever it is, and those few days. And then on the other hand, as a parent, the changes to the day, if I know that I was picking him up at the practice and that got diverted, coaches, after school, teachers who do, any kind of extra stuff, they need to send that information out to, they need to do a better job, the coaches, the after school coordinators, to the parents, that this has been changed, this is the new pickup time. So it's going to take a little work on everybody's part.
And Chris, one of the things that may come up, and it's not written in the law the way it is, but maybe there has to be a 10-minute day break to allow for communication with parents and families and stuff. Nobody's going to die if you said we're going to build in 5 minutes or 10 minutes to communicate with families. We don't do it now because we never had to. And it's not written in the law because they probably didn't think about how this impacts day-to-day life. Just the problem and trying to come up with a solution. Hopefully we can work with our students on this and resolve it. I think we've done a pretty good job in middle schools. Lockers are things that kids have access to, whether they're using them or not. That's why we kind of looked at the way of the backpack and maybe working like a locker. But at the same point in time, the students are being told and be expected to not be pulling out during lunchtime and walking the halls. And that's a new expectation, so that's going to take some time. Just like slowing down in school zones. We've got to reiterate, I know you mention that every single year we get back in September. Please slow down and follow the rules. And why do we do that? Well, because people still forget. This is hopefully one of those things.
We're lucky that we don't have that Albany 20 mile an hour in school. I'm sure it's coming, but it's just a matter of time. Tickets.
Y'all know what Chris was sharing about, I think, the staff and teachers and coaches and whomever that are leveraging some of the parent store capabilities. Like I only know of a couple of staff members who have navigated parent store well, for example, like created a group within that was for the theater kids, right? Like I think so when I think about the training that the staff might need around the depth of how parent square works and how they can, communicate on their behalf, because while, a kid can't necessarily in that moment without the student sort of being what it is. Like the teacher can say, hey, I'm sending the message that you're, staying after school today, right? Like that is something that I think could help. And additionally, what I'm assuming, and again, incorrect, that the teachers have not previously been asked to charge in Aspen, like student discipline related cell phones as the monthly notes teacher. So is that going to be part of?
They don't typically fill out a paper referral. it would be the grade level principal who would
Oh,
chart it.
I didn't know this was there. I'm
I
sorry.
think we did, at one point in time, we did try to go electronic, and people found it more cumbersome to do that than the traditional paper, to move back to paper. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, we piloted it for a semester, and the problem with it is closing the loop, because you never, through that mechanism of Aspen, you never see what happened or the actionable consequence and how it was resolved in the back end. So it just caused even more turmoil at work, and people thinking things were unresolved and filling in their own blank narratives, so it didn't do the full service that we wanted it to.
We can use it to document at least run reports saying Vincent's got 3 violations and things like that. So.
And just in terms of the policy, the draft policy itself, I am wondering if we can't clearly state at the bottom of page 2 where it says additional consequences may be imposed or defined by policy level like the code of conduct. If we can't make plain or more plain there that what we said earlier, that the student may not be suspended directly for the cell phone infraction. However, if another, violation of the code of conduct occurs in the context of that, like something to just make that a little more plain. There, and then I'm just wondering, and this would not be specific to this policy, but just really with everything in the last paragraph around distribution, is why our families of students whose first language is not English have to request the translation of policy.
We certainly can. I think in most cases, we can through something posted on our website. So as long as we have the HTML, it can automatically translate. So we can adjust that piece. Yes.
I mean, I was just assuming that was our, I mean, I know the feature that when something's web-based, right, that you can click up here and translate into whatever language you want, but anything that you're required to provide, like, and distribute, we should have that in all,
Yes.
our top languages.
A good suggestion. I think that most of the time we have it on the website and that's our translation portion. I don't know if they're paper copies for translating to our language, but we'll look at that, John.
Okay, please.
We also have to look at code of conduct and what is in the code of conduct for cell phones and the consequences related to that. I'm sure. That's reference to that's what we're doing.
And we were at agenda item number 11, future meetings. Everybody's all right with that? Does anyone have any matter for executive session? Does anyone have any other matters to bring before the board this evening? Hearing none, I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting. Mr. Larrabee, second, Mr. Casey. On the motion made by Mr. Larrabee, seconded by Mr. Casey, that the regular meeting be adjourned, time 6:58. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you very much.
So that's, they don't, I get used to this early out. I get used to that, told me.